Barbie's boyfriend Ken. I've always found him so innocent, so wholesome, until I saw a documentary recently about his darker side. So let's lean into that and give Ken a tramp stamp. As silly as this video sounds, and it is, there's actually some material science to get into here, some things that you must consider when cutting and laser engraving. So, it's fairly common knowledge that you don't burn vinyl on a laser. Ignoring all the toxic fumes it puts out for a second, it can actually release chlorine gas, which can damage your laser by oxidizing even the metals inside the machine. It can also form hydrochloric acid, which is damaging and dangerous and can lead to accelerated rust formation. But what is vinyl and what can it be found in? Well, turns out surprisingly a lot. There's the obvious stuff like PVC pipes, vinyl stickers and vinyl records, and there's the slightly less obvious stuff like packing material, credit cards, clothing, even car bodywork. Not that you're going to put a car under your laser, but you know what I mean. Anyway, invented in the late 19th century by some German dudes, vinyl plastics are almost everywhere today, as they're cheap to make and can easily be formed into soft or rigid plastics, making them very adaptable. Its full name, polyvinyl chloride, gives you an idea of what it's made of and the problematic part. Some fairly harmless carbon and hydrogen atoms, of course, but this little bugger here, chlorine, that's the main problem. Heating up any chemicals can be a destructive process, pulling apart the molecules, and a laser effectively does exactly that, superheating a very small area, obliterating whatever's there, and releasing any trapped problem elements. PVC, like a lot of stuff, can contain heavy metal additives too, like cadmium, and even going back far enough, lead. So also throw that into the mix. It's nasty stuff, but the problem element here is chlorine. In small amounts, chlorines, they're relatively harmless. We add it to our tap water, to our swimming pools to kill bacteria. Mixed with a bit of sodium, we also sprinkle it on our food. In its gaseous state, however, it's highly reactive. It will react with metals and corrode them, and in contact with water will form hydrochloric acid. In World War I, it was used as a chemical weapon. Not something you want to breathe in or drink. So before you start engraving random objects on your laser, apply a little bit of common sense. What is it made of? Any reputable supplier should be able to tell you exactly what's in their product, although they're not always obliged to. But anyway, PVC in a normal place scenario with a child, it's relatively inert and safe. But don't assume something is completely safe just because it's a kid's toy. This Barbie is mostly made of ABS plastic, so you'd think that's pretty safe as there's no chlorine, right? Well, on burning, ABS can also release carbon monoxide, and the component parts of, I'm going to butcher these names, acrylonitrile and butadiene, well, they're known carcinogens. There's also a tiny amount of hydrogen cyanide released too, just to add to that chemical goodness. It's also fairly flammable, and excessive heat will cause a gooey mess, rather than a nice engrave, which is what we're trying to get here. So action figures like this, they're not just ABS. The more flexible parts, like the hands and the head, are often PVC, which we've already touched on. So with all that being said and done, and all these warnings, here's me shoving Ken into a laser and having some fun. Don't try this at home, kids. Lovely, all his other Ken friends will be jealous. Now I've always wondered what would have happened if Goldfinger had an Aeon laser. So Goldfinger, do you expect me to talk?
No, Mr. Band, I expect you to die, and I've just invested in an Aeon laser, so it'll be very quick.